who have created an AI software that is neutralizing Indian accents everywhere. AI is changing the way that we're working. We're moving, we're thinking, we're creating art, we're going into the job market, we're even ordering food. Even the way that we're watching content actually online, if I think about it. But are we actually ready for it? This is Sonya Barlow, and this series is called Technology News That's Got Me Thinking with myself, Sonya Barlow, the founder of the LMF Network, a business author, and a presenter. And so in this series, I am going to try to come on consistently and share all of the major tech topics that I've been learning about through the internet and just break them down for you so that you understand not only what is happening, but what you should do about it. Because I'm a firm believer that there's a lot of technology evolving at a greater pace than our brains are and the education system is. And so we're getting left behind, but yet they're throwing jargon at us and everyone's trying to use ChatGPT thinking that that's going to save them. And it's not going to save you, it's going to support you. But it's definitely not going to save the world that is coming. In today's episode, I want to talk about 3 major tech news trends that have got me thinking. 1, they're trying to neutralize our brown people accents. Yes, those are the words that they've used actually. It's not the words that I'm using, but they're trying to whiten my accent. I don't know if mine can be whitened anymore, but you know, that itself is problematic. We're going to touch on that. The second is how automation is reshaping the job market and the skills you need to work on for the future to stay employable and educated and ultimately efficient. And lastly, but just as important, the growing battle over AI and creativity, because guess what? They're scraping our art from the internet and using it as their own. There is no intro. This is just something that I have realized I need to do. And so last night I created a template, and today I had my first cup of chai. I found my mic. I've got a light on the camera and I'm just going to go for it. There's no script. There is just passion, and I'm hoping that that is enough to carry us on when it comes to these topics. The first one, Indian accents are being neutralized. That is genuinely the headline that I've seen in The Sun, that I've seen in The Times, that I've seen in The Telegraph. That headline or thereabouts, what they're saying is that customers aren't satisfied when they are hearing Indian accents in the call centers. There is an American company, from my understanding, called Sanas, who have created an AI software that is neutralizing Indian accents everywhere. What does this mean? It means that in order to increase customer satisfaction, the whiter your accent, the brighter you seem, the more likely you are to be efficient with the customer and get the job done. How do I feel about that? Actually, it's ironic because as a brown person, I most definitely whitened my accent when I was younger to get into the relevant rooms that you generally aren't able to get into to progress in the world of tech and business, to be taken seriously. However, I would say that was before we had so much awareness and what's the right word? Exposure through the internet, right? I'm talking like pre-Netflix and pre the internet, when I used to use AOL dial-up speed network to get online, and you could only get on for an hour and then it will just automatically lock you out. Or when you had to go on the internet and write HTTP to go on a website, whereas now you can just write Sonya Barlow and it'll come up with your website. The internet is just so much smarter. We are just smarter as people. And so I'm conflicted. Look, on one hand, it's great that technology is being used to create business efficiency. I'm sure if I ran a call center and I knew that that was increasing my profits or decreasing the workload, I might consider it. That's coming from a business commercial brain. However, as a consumer and as somebody who is from the Indian continent, I just feel it's just another form of discrimination. And actually, it's quite terrifying to know that despite all of the media and awareness and progress that we have made in the world, we are still correlating Indian accents with people who are not capable or don't understand us, or that we don't understand them, which makes absolutely no sense. Do I think that this is going to be problematic? Absolutely. Do I think that this is going to be something that we're going to go backwards in? Absolutely not. And I guess that's also because on a macro lens, from a macro lens, we are seeing the advancements of translation. People want to be spoken in their native language, in their native accents. They want things to be made easier for them. We've seen that with YouTube translating all our content in every different language, Spotify doing the same, captions, if not voice audio. And the reason I bring that up is because actually that's worrying for many reasons. One is not just because our accents are now being used to train these models, which itself just means that there's a bunch of Indian people who have been speaking into scripts probably, or they've been using all the Bollywood and Nollywood movies that exist and they're just putting it into the system. I'm not really sure, we can look into that. But it also means that why do we need to learn new languages if everything can be just translated through AI into our home language? And so does that mean that there's going to be less languages in the future? Does that mean that people are just going to speak English? Or does that mean that English is going to decline and languages generally are going to decline and we're just going to go back to this is what we speak on in our country, on our island, and then we can go around with little phones just translating the conversations to other people? I have definitely digressed, but it is everything I'm thinking, and that's why this episode exists, because I want to have some real discussions and get into the depth of it. Saying that, I'm not going to go deep. What I am going to do is I'm going to start a new series, an extension of this series, and bring on experts and leaders in their field, and we are going to see how AI is changing X. Not X like the Twitter platform, but X like an industry. Let me know what you want that X to be. Is it art? Is it automobiles? Is it education? Is it content? Is it finances? Whatever it is, I want to know how AI is changing something. And that is the new series that I'm going to launch because, well, actually it's necessary. And there's not a lot of women, brown women, talking about these concepts, but also I'm just genuinely talking about them all the time in my network that I'm thinking, why am I not sharing them with the internet, which is just an extension of my wider network. Going on to number 2, we touched on disruption. According to the UK government, insurance and finance will be the industries that are the most disrupted by AI. And interestingly, I've just recorded a podcast this week with a client, which hopefully comes out soon, which is all about the insurance industry and the disruption in AI. What I can tell you is, according to the World Economic Forum, AI will displace 75 million jobs globally by 2025, but it will also create 133 million new jobs. Now, for anyone who is scared, yeah, I guess a part of us should be scared because AI is displacing so many of our skills and jobs. However, it is also a new revolution, and so we need to be ready for what the future looks like. Future jobs might look like CDO, Chief Disruption Officer. That's right. We are going to be in a place where people are looking to break things and fix things, and that's what I'm going to put my title up for, actually, because that would suit me so well. But on a serious note, AI and ethics coordinator, AI consultant, prompt engineer. Some of the jobs that, according to the LinkedIn jobs report, that might be displaced are more of the ones which require manual labor or are more mundane admin tasks. So like administrative assistants, factory workers, some customer service positions, paralegals, copywriters. Now, I'm not saying that you have mundane admin tasks. By the way, I'm not saying that your work isn't worth it. I'm just letting you know what the reports are saying. So please don't come at me. This is not my thinking. With that being said, have I used AI tools to create efficiencies in my content creation, in my captioning, in editing? Absolutely. But do I think they do a better job than someone who is a professional editor? Not really. And so for certain things like the travel channel content that I have, I've gone back to outsourcing my content to a real person rather than an AI model. Because if I'm being really honest with you, they have that empathy and that emotional intelligence and that critical thinking that we need. It's not just based on what information has been fed, it's based on actually consumers have low attention spans, and so what's going to spark them to begin with. And also, just on a side note, I'm so bored and tired of people using AI tools like ChatGPT to comment or create captions on platforms like LinkedIn. Like, that's super boring. You have no critical thought, you have no new ideas, you are just saying the same things that people are saying. And so again, I'm scared for the future generation because they don't have any like free thought or any nuances in their perspective. They are just, maybe we're all just turning into robots actually. And again, digressing into a deeper topic that we will definitely touch on in the series that I now am convinced that I need to launch. But let's go back to an optimistic note. What skills are we going to focus on in the future? Teamwork, problem solving, communication, adaptability, critical thinking, time management, interpersonal skills. Actually, all of the skills that my managers pre-pandemic said that we don't need because we all need to be coders. And I remember once, and this is my sad story coming along, I remember in one of my consultancy jobs, my manager said something along the lines of, because you do not have a coding degree or you don't know how to code, it's going to be really difficult to promote you because that's what we're looking for. But actually my skill set was being a translator, which basically meant that I would sit down with the tech teams and understand what they're doing and how hard they work and the language models that they're using, and be able to translate that in lay people's terms to the client, and then go back to my tech team and say, this is what the client wants, how long is it actually going to take? And so all of that was teamwork and problem solving and communication and critical thinking and adapting, not just to what you are doing right now, but to the wider market, macro and micro climates, languages, country barriers, rules and regulations. But now bringing it back to the point we're trying to make, yes, AI is going to disrupt our industries. But that also means that this is your time, listener, to do what it is that you need to do to level up. So go on those courses, build a course yourself, pick a new task, hobby, or topic area and just delve into it. And one of the best ways of learning is to teach. Hence this series that I'm launching, this podcast that I'm recording, this video that I've edited. Why? Because I want to know that what I've learned is actually my brain and that I can tell it to somebody else to share that knowledge with them. Also, start playing around with different AI tools that do exist and find what makes them a positive tool to use and what's the negative tool to use. Share those learnings with your colleagues, with your co-workers, be that weekly, being like, here's a new tool that I've used to create efficiencies and this is the outcome, all the way to sharing that content online. And if you are in a position where you're looking for work experience, you're thinking, I don't have a job, or I'm trying to get my next job, or I'm transitioning into a career, that's all right. Start learning by reading the news and having the news and basic topics summarized through summary tools. Be in a position where you are noting down your thoughts by transcribing them on Google Docs, as an example, all the way to follow the relevant hashtags and just make sure that you have some knowledge to begin with. And then if you want to learn other knowledge, you go to the relevant events, online or offline, and you just absorb. So currently you are a sponge. And then when you have questions like, tell us a time where you have transformed your skills, or the future of this particular job market is based on AI and technology, what have you done to upskill yourself? Or AI is displacing this current role, what skill do you think is important in the future and how are you learning about it? You have all of those answers because you've been doing the work. And it's really that work ethic that I want to touch on when it comes to the future of technology and tech news that's got me thinking, because it's all very much around what the future of work looks like, be that in the industry of art, be that in call centers, be that in more traditional industries that we know. And it just means that there's so much scope for you to disrupt and for you to create in the future that I think a lot of us are just sort of scared by, oh, AI is going to come and take our jobs. Yeah, but it's also going to create new jobs and teach you new skills. And the people that we were 3 years ago are not the people that we are now, and they're not the people we're going to be 3 years on. I graduated in 2015, and that's when jobs like social media assistants and social media managers were coming into play. In 2020, I started creating content. And then in 2024, I think I started calling myself a content creator. These terms, these jobs did not exist back in the day. That doesn't mean that they won't in the future. It just means there'll be an evolution of them. I guess my question to you is, how are you keeping up with the evolution? Is what's that skill that you are touching on, which is more around empathy and human interaction, and it's conversational than just using tech to create efficiencies. And then that brings me on to my third topic, which again is all about disruption and AI just messing up what already exists. And that's that AI is scraping artists' work online and capturing the data from the internet to train their AI models. This is news from The Sun, this is news from The Guardian, and really simply, artists and journalists, content creators, anyone who is in the media or creating art of any kind, they're already impacted by the fact that AI models need large pools of data to train their models, and so they're scraping the internet for pre-existing work. Now, you might have heard Snoop Dogg's voice on the Just Eat advert, but you might also have heard Snoop Dogg's voice on lots of different TikTok videos. Why is that? That's because Snoop Dogg's voice is, well, he's an artist. His voice is on the internet. Companies have scraped his voice and created these AI models, and then we as consumers are able to use his voice in our videos. Now, that's the easiest way of putting it. Now think about books and art and content and videos and blogs. Like just a couple of years ago, the travel bloggers of the world, well, actually they lost their income pretty much overnight because AI models were scraping the internet. And now, where do you think that information comes from when you go on ChatGPT and you say 10 things to do in London as a solo traveler? That doesn't come from ChatGPT's brain because it doesn't have a brain. It comes from all of the pre-existing material that already exists on the internet. You may have also seen, and I'm going to link it here, Zoe Klienman, who is a BBC editor and somebody who I follow on Twitter and kind of connect with on a regular basis. Her friend actually made her a book for Christmas using generative AI, taking into account what already existed on the internet. As an author, that's worrying for me because that means that when I wrote my book and it took me 6 months and over 70,000 words of figuring it out, I can now go on platforms and say, write me a book as an author for this demographic with this concept in mind, targeting this country, and it will churn out 70,000 words super easy for you. But it wouldn't do it through its own brain because it doesn't have its own brain. It will do it through the content and information that pre-exists on the internet, and that is by us, the consumers. And so the UK government and various MPs in the UK are suggesting that we should have regulation around creative work. On one hand, MPs are saying that there should be regulation and rightful ethics, and obviously we know there's not a lot of ethics in the world of AI. On the other hand, companies are saying, well, actually, if creators don't want their creations to be used, they should let us know by writing a prompt, or genuinely, in one article, it says, unless there's a big sign on your front door expressly telling them that thievery isn't allowed. I'm reading it from the script. I'm reading it from the article that I can see right in front of me to make sure that I am getting all of this right. And so what can we do? We can use prompts in our art to say that we don't want this reused. We can encourage companies to develop a revenue share model for their payments. We can make sure that when we are creating any kind of art online and we're using AI, that we toggle that this has used AI or been generated through AI button so other people know. We'd also call out when companies and brands and other creators are using AI to create their version of art, which means that actually normal people like us, they might be out of the job. Just this morning when I was doing the research for this episode, I was on X, aka Twitter. And, people were doing Twitter threads or X threads around how they're using generative AI models and content creators that are saving them thousands. And then you've seen companies like, is it Puma, that have created this Moroccan content creator using AI but aren't actually paying Moroccan content creators who are not used AI. A couple of months ago, there was on this Pakistani page on Instagram, there was a new generative AI content creator that was launched saying, oh, I am a girl from Pakistan, I am a generative content creator. And people were going crazy. And I commented being like, why are you not showing that level of respect or cheerleading your own people? Why are you now cheerleading a cartoon character that exists based on images that exist on the internet from brown women who are content creators? And so you're just making this Gen AI creator look like us, and you're taking our art, but you're not giving us the funds that are rightfully ours, because we've spent months, if not years, if not decades, doing the work, gaining the expertise, gaining the experience, having to negotiate who we are and embrace our identities. And now you're just willing to take that away from us, all in the name of AI art. I can appreciate that there's parts of this that maybe I've digressed on, but I felt like we're having a good conversation. We're not getting into the depths of it, but we're definitely understanding that the three major tech topics that caught my eye and the technology news that's got me thinking, well, one is about Indian accents being whitewashed, two is about AI transforming the skills of the future, and three is about the growing battle between AI and art and what this means for us as we move into this next phase of, let's call it, human evolution. In summary, technology and industry is evolving so fast and AI is definitely to blame. But artificial intelligence is like a smart assistant. It's made by people, apparently for the people. If not for the people, definitely for the companies that are using it to create more efficiencies and to be more productive. Now, I have a whole different video on what AI actually is that I encourage you to watch. It's only 10 minutes or so, but it will break down everything you need, plus some key examples of how we've actually been using AI and technology in our day-to-day lives for so many years that we just don't realize that we've already been feeding into the system. But I guess taking a step back, the point of this discussion is to make sure that we are aware and that we are focused on learning and considering how best to use artificial intelligence, that we aren't feeding into the false news, but also noticing patterns where AI is being used and the outcome isn't real and calling out that behavior. Yes, some of our skills are going to be redundant, but ultimately, do we need to consider, are we up for correction, or do we need to invest in making those models more inclusive by getting with the times? Do we need to make sure that we are upskilling ourselves or going to our employers to say, this is how AI is disrupting this current work flow or this current role, and I need further education and development on this to make sure that I am retaining my job, but also increasing the returns for a business, because ultimately that's what a business is. In simple terms, yes, AI is going to disrupt, but if we take account of how we are feeding into artificial intelligence and the tech systems that do exist, I wonder if we could be disruptors too. And as we carry on this series and I create more podcast episodes on technology news that have got me thinking, I'd love to know what your comments are on this first one. Any news that you think is interesting that I can comment on, any questions that you might have that we can answer, and any guests that you think should be coming on. Because remember, I'm going to launch my series, How AI is Changing X, and I'd love for you to get involved. On that note, I'm going to say a big thank you and remind you to like, subscribe and share, and also leave a good review, please. Just click on the 5 stars. All you've got to do is click, but it just means that more people can listen, learn, and lean into such conversations. This is Technology News That's Got Me Thinking with Sonya Barlow, and I hope to hear from you very soon.